Today we're going to be talking about a 14-year-old boy named Emmett Till. Now, Emmett Till grew up in a working class neighbourhood on the south side of Chicago, and he attended a segregated elementary school just with black pupils, so he was aware of racism and that racism existed. However, he was not prepared for the level of segregation he encountered when he travelled down to the southern state of Mississippi in 1955. So on the 20th of August 1955, Emmett Till left his home in the northern state of Illinois in the city of Chicago, and he drove down to the southern state of Mississippi. Now, if we remember, the southern states are a lot less open to black people than the northern states are. Now, Emmett had travelled down to Mississippi to visit his uncle and cousins, and on the 24th of August 1955, the boys drove Emmett's uncle's car to a small town called Money, and they stopped at Bryant's grocery store where they bought some sweets. Whilst in the shop, the boys dared Emmett to talk to Carolyn Bryant, the store owner. And after he had bought some sweets, Emmett either said, "Bye baby," or he whistled at Carolyn Bryant. Now, this sort of behaviour was definitely not accepted in the South. And when Carolyn told her husband Roy, he was very angry that this had happened. So Roy and his half-brother J.W. Millam went to Emmett's uncle's house on the 28th of August 1955. Now, when the white men arrived at Emmett's uncle's house, they asked him whether 3 boys from Chicago were staying with him. His uncle led them into the room where Emmett was sleeping, and the men told him to get dressed. His uncle pleaded with them, but they could not help the men and stop them from taking Emmett. They threatened to kill his uncle and anyone who he told. Several hours later, Emmett's mum was notified of her son's kidnapping, and a search began of the area to see if they could find Emmett. Emmett's uncle also told the police, who went and arrested the men for kidnapping Emmett. 3 days later, Emmett's body was discovered in the Tallahatchie River. It was weighed down by a 70-pound fan, which was tied around Emmett's neck with barbed wire. He had also been shot in the face, and his face was so mutilated that his body could only be identified based on the ring that Till had been wearing, which had belonged to his father. Emmett's mum decided to have an open casket coffin funeral. She wanted the world to know what had happened to her son. His right eye was missing, his nose was broken, and there was a hole in the side of his head. 50,000 people attended his funeral. Following Emmett's death, a trial took place on the 19th of September 1955 to see whether Bryant and Millam were guilty of kidnapping and murdering Emmett. Now, the jury seen all the evidence, but at this time, blacks and women were barred from serving in the jury. So Bryant and Millam were tried before an all-white, all-male jury. It took these men just over an hour to decide that the 2 men were not guilty for murdering Emmett Till, and they got off with no punishment. What makes this story worse is in 2007, an interviewer was talking to Emmett Till's accuser, Carolyn Bryant. By this point, she had divorced and remarried. In the interview, she admitted that she lied about Emmett Till and made up that he had advanced towards her. Therefore, Emmett Till was innocently murdered for no reason.